welcome to today's Q&A session around youth-led solutions in action. I'm Rodrigo Ross.
And I'm Keith Vincent.
And we are with the Cosmetic Podcast, powered by the Dallas YMCA in the U.S. We have a treat for you today, and we are so super excited that you guys will get a chance to ask questions and hear more. So before we get started, just a quick reminder, say hi to one another in the chat, right? Like, introduce yourself to who's joining us today, and begin to think about those questions and drop them in the chat.
I think it's a little bit different. You need to blow up the chat.
Oh, blow up the, don't
because,
just say
look,
hi.
You're meeting people across the world right here.
Yeah.
Drop into the chat right now where you're from, who you are, and in particular, make sure you drop in the questions so we can have some rapid fire.
Blow up the chat.
Blow it up.
Blow up the chat. Well, while they're blowing up the chat, let me introduce who we have with us today. We have joining us here today, Rodrigo Mendoza, who is a volunteer leader with the YMCA of Peru. Hello. We also have Tarazi. Did I say that right? Yes, who is with the YMCA of East Jerusalem. And joining us remote, we have Magda Gana from the YMCA of the Philippines.
Hey,
welcome
Magda.
all to today's Q&A session. So super excited to have you, and so super excited to hear about the things that you all are doing. So we'll start with you, Rodrigo, because your name is like Rodrigo, and we're cousins, and I love it. So talk to me about the things that you are doing as the volunteer leader in Peru.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And what I can say about my work in Peru is, as a volunteer, I lead a project called Sumaq Muru. It means good seed. And we are transforming plastic waste into sanitary infrastructure for people who don't have proper access to water and sanitation.
Wow.
See, in Peru, nearly a third of our population don't have proper access to water and sanitation. And we see this is a major issue, and we decided to do something about it among a pandemic.
Wow, I love that.
Nice.
And tell us, Tarazi, as a board member, right? You also volunteer with the East Jerusalem Y. What are the exciting things you guys are doing?
Wow, we're doing so many things for our community. We're having this vocational center. It's like kind of an informal education for young people who want to pursue a skill, kind of a career, instead of just going to college and the academic life. And we integrate them right into the community where they can find jobs that suit them, and pursue the career of their own that they actually passionate about, instead of just going to the traditional formal education.
Oh, excellent.
And there's many more, but this is
awesome.
Just thinking on my mind.
And Magda, what's that powerful thing that you guys are doing?
In Makati, we are doing a lot on education. We have scholarships for young people. We also have health programs, but the most recent that we have is the project on environment, which is also coming from the youth-led solutions, where we also recycle plastic waste, especially the soft plastics, and we turn them into materials which sell as a social enterprise.
Awesome.
I love that.
I think, though, if we were doing a podcast, what I would probably have as a title is solution solvers. Like, you guys are out here solving real world problems right here that not only just at this local level, but just really this worldwide impact. How did you guys get to the place? I'm gonna let all three of you guys chime in. How did you get to the place to be able to come up with these big solutions?
Yeah.
Well, I started as your favorite YMCA summer camp kid, making troubles, escaping classes. But now I'm a board member in my YMCA. I'm also representing the World YMCA in the Global Youth Mobilization, which funds projects led by youth for the youth to target a post-COVID world. I just started as a young volunteer who wanted to do more, who wanted to give the community back, and now we're just trying to see what the actual problems that are facing, the youth are facing, the whole community are facing, and trying to take it piece by piece to address it fully and give each topic a full-scale solution without missing any part of it.
I love it. So, Rodrigo, you had the opportunity earlier today to lead a youth-led solutions engagement plenary, right? And for those of you all who missed it, it was recorded, and so you could go back and watch it.
Yep.
But in your talk, tell us about some of the things you highlighted in that plenary today.
I think what I wanted to get in that plenary was really moving people towards thinking, how can we get more people, more young people doing the kind of things that I'm doing, that Magda is doing, that Loris is doing, and that many other young people is doing and willing to do. I think there's a hunger over there to do things, to tackle environmental challenges, but also challenges of other kind. And I really wanted to get to those board members, CEOs of YMCAs, people, and also to young people to believe in themselves and ask for spaces, for resources, for advice, for tools. Like, I believe there's a lot of demand for space and platforms in the young people. We want to do something, and we just need the space and the platform. That's what I wanted to send across.
Yeah, I love that.
Magda, you did a program called the Tree Musketeers. Can you talk a little bit about the Tree Musketeers, so that people don't think I don't know English? It's TREE. Well, I ain't talking about tree, all right? I'm talking about tree.
Yeah, that's right. It's tree, as in the tree that we're planting. It's actually started as a partnership program with the Philippine Marines. As you know, in our country, it's not like in the US. The Marines are a minority, and they're not being given so much of a respect than the other servicemen. So we started with engaging young people to write thank you letters to the Marines deployed in far-flung areas. So it started with that. And then we realized we have to do something together with these soldiers. So we asked our young people to buy their own seedlings, and we go to this protected area where the Marines are doing their training. And so we did the tree planting. We started in 2013, almost 10 years already, and we do it every year. So the youth goes there, they plant the trees together with the Marines. And when the youth leaves, the Marines who are training in that school, in that forest, are the ones protecting the trees to grow. So it's really the Tree Musketeers, soldiers of the trees. We wanted our young people to do something with the Marines for the future. So that's the program.
Oh, thank you. And look, those of you all online, we got great conversation going. And one of the themes that we've been talking about this whole time is around our young people making change. And we have young people here that we're talking to right now who've been there, done that, and are doing it. So drop in the chat your questions. We'd love to grab your questions from online to be able to ask our great panel.
So, Loris, you talked about all of the amazing programs that you all are doing at the East Jerusalem Y, but particularly around the thing that seems to be resonating with all three is around climate and environment and things being eco-friendly. Talk to us about, particularly because you said something about the World Health Organization funding or supporting some of your projects. Can you tell us about the projects that you all are doing in that space that they're supporting?
Well, the World Health Organization is funding a Big Six collaboration, which is the Big Six Youth Organization collaboration, which the World YMCA is part of these Big Six organization. So they basically, alongside with the support of the United Nations Foundation, of course, so they basically support any kind of project that is coming from the youth. It's called local solutions, and I encourage everyone who's listening to us here today that there's still time to apply. Just make it fast. Go to globalyouthmobilization.com and you can apply for funding for any kind of project that you think can target a post-COVID-19 world. Speaking of climate action, I've been the project lead of a youth-led solution for the climate action in my YMCA, which is called Bring Green, and was submitted in the COP26. in Glasgow, and it basically we wanted to encourage people to plant more trees because we live in a very vivid city where there's a lot of buildings going on. Like one day you sleep and the next morning, wow, a building next to your house. Like how long was I asleep for? Yes. And so we wanted to encourage them, okay, so the free spaces are not very green, so maybe we'll encourage them to plant in their balconies small trees, and it can target and help with their mental health, especially after COVID. Just give them a sense of like belonging and what they want to do more and watch and take care of little things on their own. So we basically distributed green boxes, which had everything, had seeds, seedlets, and like compost and a small leaflet to show them how to take care of a plant and a small games for the little kids. And now we're seeing more and more green on the balconies as we walk in our very beautiful, vivid city of Ramallah.
Oh, I love that. Just helping people, because so many times people know that they want to help and they know when they want to do something, but they don't really know exactly what to do, right? And now you have this kit available that you can say, here, start here, do this, learn how to do this, and make a difference.
You always start small.
Yeah, start small. That's wonderful.
You gotta start somewhere. So Kelsey in Nashville, Tennessee.
Hi, Kelsey.
Hey, Kelsey. Tell my man Chris back there I said hello. Nashville's my starting place. But Kelsey, she wanted to know from all the panelists is about, your process for gaining access, power, and resources as young leaders in the institutional spaces that are predominantly older leaders, such as YMCA boards.
Yeah. So how do you go about being that young change agent when there aren't many of you?
All right, looks point at me, so I'm gonna start.
So I can get inspired.
I know this is gonna probably look a different way from each one of us. So in my experience, and it doesn't have to be like that for everyone, resources and power and access were there for the taking. They were not given to me precisely. So we built up a group. I was part of that group, and we decided to build a project, and we ran for funds at the Global Youth Mobilization. And it was then when we got that access to resources, we got that access to power. Probably it came later. The power came with the funding to make decisions about what's done and what's not. And don't get me wrong. I mean, doors weren't closed for me. I mean, I didn't have to struggle against, I don't know, discrimination or something. Don't take me the wrong way, but I guess my message for young people is, don't wait for someone to come and tell you and ask you, can you do this? No, do it yourself. Get your project done and then ask for the money,
Yeah, good advice.
In Spanish, we say something like, el que no llora no mama. It means the one, if you don't cry, you're not getting your milk.
Right. That's right. That's why we say, if you don't scream, nobody else will holler. It's just closed mouth doesn't get fed, right?
There you go.
That's very true. Very true.
Well, indeed, I agree with Rodrigo. It's been a bit different for me. Just last year during the board elections, my YMCA changed the constitution, allowing that saying that there must be at least 2 youth representatives in our board. So I was elected one of these 2. I'm so thankful for that. It just gave us just didn't empower me, encouraged me. It also motivated our younger leaders who were just volunteers, and now they're seeing that we are volunteers, we can be board members now, we can do something like these little things we're doing, helping the kids in the summer camps, or these little projects we're running, has actually come a long way. And it's been quite a journey for me, because hearing from the senior leaders, sometimes you hear something you don't like, but I would like to advise whoever is in that position is like to speak up, to be louder so they can hear you. They're here for us. They've been in our places. They know what we're thinking, what we're feeling. I think our what we want to do now as young, it's just to remind them that you were in our shoes and you feel what we're feeling. So now it's time for you to listen and do the things that weren't done, that haven't been done to you when you were our age. Act upon what we're talking about. Which is great. Also having senior leaders, you know, get inspired from them, learning from the lessons, so you can apply it in the present now. It's a great opportunity.
I love that. Help them remember they were where you are right now.
Exactly.
Sure. And Magda?
For me, it's a different setup because I actually work as a staff at the YMCA. And, you know, as a staff, being the one in charge of programs, I have a big role to play in connecting our young people to the board, because the board has so many ideas and they're excited to, you know, do something, to look for money to fund programs. And here comes the young people, the young leaders who have so many energy and ideas as well. So the staff plays a great role, like me, in connecting these two great bodies in the YMCA, because, you know, sometimes all we need to do is to connect each other. And not just in the YMCA, but also from organizations outside the YMCA. It's really the power of collaboration and working together to achieve something for the community.
Nice. I love that. And speaking of which, Magda, you helped to design the entire Youth-Led Solutions Initiative back in San Francisco in March of 2020, right? At the height of the pandemic.
Yeah, that was February 2020, before the pandemic.
Right? And then the pandemic. But now that program has awarded more than $400,000 US to youth solutions around the world.
And that's
how does it feel?
Yeah,
right?
that's not a small task
It
at all.
is not a small task.
Right.
How does that feel?
Yes, that's right. And, you know, it's I felt so humbled because we see that it's like planting trees. You know, we're starting to plant trees. We may not be seeing the fruit of the trees that we're planting, but we know that there's going to be a future because we are starting to plant today, and that's important. And what I love about this youth-led solutions is there are people behind it, leaders in the YMCA, in the World YMCA, in YUSA, Chuck Collins, Tom Valentine, and Carlos Sandy, and these people, you know, they have bright ideas that they want to support young people thinking about something for their community, and now it has grown so big, and I feel happy for what the team has achieved. But you know, everybody has something to offer to the table, and nobody has the monopoly of the ideas. So it's all about, you know, listening to these voices to be heard and supporting these voices to make those commitment into action, which is so important.
Yeah.
So what is it? What's next then, Magda, for this program?
Well, I believe that we are still in the amplifying these youth-led solutions, and as I've said during the interview in COP26 last October in Glasgow, this is the blueprint, and this blueprint can be replicated, can be copied by other local YMCAs. You know, if you have resources in your local YMCA, why not try to organize a youth-led solutions in your community? We can all do this because it's a matter of gathering people, connecting each other, the funders and those who have bright ideas, and it will spark change little by little.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Good job. Congratulations. That is amazing. That's legacy building work right
Thank
there.
you so much.
And and the big thing about, you know, these panels that we've been doing here throughout this World Conference is that we're truly bringing solution makers before the group.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about young people and them being change makers. You guys are in that space right now that, again, are developing solutions around this variety of different topics.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Rodrigo, your project on climate action is incredibly unique and innovative. And so why did you and the youth leaders at your YMCA in Peru come up with that idea? Like, why'd you pick that idea?
You know, I wish I could tell you now, like, I got a glance of, I don't know, inspiration at one time.
And there was a light.
But the history, I think, is we wanted to do something.
Yeah.
That was the first part of it. We wanted to do something. We didn't know what. We didn't know how. We didn't know how with which money. But we wanted to do something. And so we decided, we took on the task. We sat together for weeks to design this project, and we run it for the global youth mobilization.
Yeah.
And so the process was sort of building an idea from a recycling project that we had seen about eco bricks, because we build eco bricks with plastic, and we turned that into sanitary infrastructure. So I think that's the story, and the valuable of it, I think it's the will. You know, if you don't have an idea today, just sit down.
Yeah.
And write down whatever you're thinking about. And something is going to come up eventually, but you need that first wheel, that first, go into the pool.
So you kind of laid out just a little process of how to do things. But in all the preparation, sometimes you need a little bit of something else. What was that came along the way that gave you that something else to propel your project to where it got to? Was that a person or something happened?
It was a person. It was a person. It was actually a very beloved friend of mine that brought us together and said, "Hey, you want to do something?" I said, "Yes, I've always been passionate about this. So okay, let's right." It was a person. I think she inspires me today. She inspired me then, and she's always pushing us forward.
Yeah, yeah. And in that time, since March of 2021, right? A little over a year, you guys have converted more than a metric ton of plastic waste into these bricks. A ton of waste.
I'm not sure what metric is sometimes.
But you know what a ton is.
I know what a ton is. So that's a whole lot.
That's a whole lot in just a year's time. Good job. That's excellent stuff. So, Loris, right? You sit on the global project board of the Global Youth Mobilization Initiative representing the World YMCA. How did you get into that position?
Well, I still don't believe it sometimes. Like, what? Am I that person? But, well, it took a lot of hard work. I'm very active in my local YMCA, in my national YMCA, and then slowly through the World YMCA, especially in the beginning of the pandemic, we had a COVID response team where we were doing activities online for the YMCA family around the world, especially the change agents.
Yeah.
And just slowly, step by step, I just found myself the youth representative of the World YMCA. It's challenging and it's intimidating. Let me say that, because you're sitting at the table with these amazing other youth representatives from other youth organizations, the big six.
Yep.
And as well as the CEOs of these organizations and representatives from WHO and UNF. And sometimes it's really inspiring as well, because when you're there, you're not just sharing what the youth of the YMCA are experiencing or they have in mind or their perspective, but you're also listening to other youth organizations, to other youth in different organizations. Like, we have sometimes the same challenges, they're different, but at the end of the day, we're the same, we're youth, but how we deal with it as organizations is just different.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good stuff. I can absolutely believe that you're sitting on that board, and I can totally see why you are sitting on that board. And so, Magda, for you, when you talk about youth-led solutions, being a staff person at the YMCA, what do you do specifically to make sure that the solutions that you guys are getting behind and supporting are, in fact, really youth-led?
Well, that's a good question. It's always important to give them the space to talk about, because the Youth-Led Solution project that started in our YMCA really started with just a conversation over a cup of coffee. We were gathering our young volunteers who happens to attend most of our leadership training before when they were in high school, and now they were in college and young professionals. So when we had the Youth-Led Solution Summit last October, we had a process in that event where there is an ideation workshop, and that is a very important strategy because you gave the space to the group of young people to talk about what problems are we seeing in the community. And mind you, there's so many problems, and until the process led to boiling down to one specific problem, which is the plastic pollution. And then they started to think, so what are the solutions that we can do to address this problem? So the group realized it's education is important. Climate change education is important to promote the 5 Rs, to reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, refuse the use of plastics. And it started as that. So as a staff, sometimes it's challenging because when you work with volunteers, volunteers have they don't have the full time to attend to projects. So as a staff, I'm the one left, in the office, in the programs, and I have to make sure that the program is running, even if the volunteers are just coming on weekends. So the role of the staff is to help also the young people. I'm also youth actually, but I need to help the volunteers to put systems in place that it will run even if they're just coming on weekends, to get somebody to do the shredding, get somebody to do the cleaning of plastics. And it's part of the social enterprise because the proceeds of the sales coming from selling these items, it's like it's a pillow or a bean bag, and the fillings comes from plastics. The proceeds from there is where we get the fund to pay the people in the community who do the cleaning and the shredding of the plastics. So that's how the project works.
I love that. That just really helping people understand that it's a partnership, right? Like, we definitely want the youth voice to lead. We definitely want to amplify those solutions, but there has to be someone to sustain the work, someone kind of keeping their eye on it and making sure that things continue to happen when volunteers have to go back to their regular stuff. That's great. That's great.
So question from online, from Audrey. She wants to know, what is the biggest barriers you have faced when trying to enact youth-led solutions? And along with that, in the online collabs that have been happening, they've been discussing things like conservative board mentality and the YMCA's fear of taking actions that are seen as political. So what are some of the barriers? And Lourdes, you want to start us off?
Well, sure. I think the first barrier would be like, is this good enough? Am I doing it right? Is this a good idea? Is it not? Maybe I can do something else, or maybe I'm not gonna do it. But I think the first thing you should do is just, you know what? I'm gonna do it. Whatever. It's insignificant. It's small. It's ridiculous. Do it. Apply for it. You'll never know. It can, more ideas can build up on it from other people and can turn to a great project. Sometimes the small projects are all you need to influence other people, to reach out for the local communities. And as just, when you're facing your YMCA board, sometimes it's good to remind them that they were in our shoes. But it's also just, take an action, take a stand, say you know what, this is it. And it's also good to remind them that this is good for them. Because when you're doing something, when the senior leaders see how motivated are the young people and actually support them, and they show up for their little events, little pizza parties, the young people will feel seen and heard, and will be more motivated to do more and more and more. And whatever the young volunteers do will reflect on the why. Because, in the community, the people won't say, this guy did this. No, they will say the YMCA of this city, of this country actually did this. So it actually reflects good on the board themselves. So from where I'm standing, I would really like to encourage the senior leaders of other YMCA to be there for young leaders, because whatever they do, it's gonna be good for the board members as well. Also, sometimes it's good just to hear them and just get a slice of pizza from them and just.
What are some of the barriers you face, Rodrigo?
Well, I totally agree with Lourdes on the imposter syndrome, right? That sometimes you maybe believe your idea or yourself is not prepared, it's not good enough, it's not ready. On that, it is good enough.
Yeah.
It's just as good as it has to be. But on the conservative mindset or political fear, I believe the YMCA in itself is very political, you know? To go out in the world and give children and give vulnerable people the aid that we're given, that is a political thing, and we shouldn't be afraid to look at that. To look at and it is going to make people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we are on the side of history that we want to be on.
Yeah.
Because silence, it's not, it means something,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Yeah. It speaks just as loudly as words sometimes.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. And what about you, Magda? What are some of the barriers?
Some of the barriers that we encounter is the pandemic. Actually, the youth-led solutions, to start with, we planned it to be face-to-face in San Francisco, but the pandemic happened, so we make it into a virtual. And same goes with the youth-led solution projects, which were submitted and funded. Most of them were, we didn't expect that pandemic would happen. So what happened was, when lockdown started to be enforced, there were projects who were delayed in the implementation. However, what I see, the beauty in it is that the young people, the groups who proposed these projects, pivoted. That's very important. The grit of the people who are doing this project. The mentors are telling our young people, no, it's okay. We can pivot. We can change our strategies and do something. And that's what happened. And I think mentorship is very important.
Yes.
In addressing these barriers, because sometimes, with so much high spirit, energy from young people, and then something happens. Sometimes we feel, down spirited, and sometimes we think that it's the end. But our mentors would, from the board, the adult leaders would tell us, no, there's another way to do it, and that's the beauty in it. So that's the barrier that we encounter, the pandemic, the lockdowns, and these things. But we're able to go around it.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. I'm super glad that they are. So, Rodrigo, last year you had the opportunity to travel to Glasgow for the United Nations Conference on Climate. That's so amazing. Can you tell us what an experience like that was like, and being on that level platform? That's amazing.
It was.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I still remember the first time I landed on Europe. It was my first time living the country. And I cried. I cried as the plane landed, because I felt the hands of so many people in my back pushing me forward. And it was a game changer for me. Like, I'm a different person than the one that before I traveled to Glasgow. I almost couldn't believe it myself before that. And the reason why it was such a game changer is because it exposed me on a high level. I get to make interviews. I get to participate on panels. I'm not trying to brag. I'm really humble about it. But what I mean actually is putting a young person to that. It's scary for them. I was very scared when I landed in Amsterdam. This airport is as big as my city, I thought. Like, how am I gonna find myself to it? Actually, I remember God put an angel in my path, because someone guided me through the airport. But fear is what I felt. And I took fear with me. So that didn't hold me back. It has held me back in the past. I'm not gonna lie, but going with fear and facing that kind of stuff has changed my life. Like, when I'm afraid now, I say, remember Glasgow. Like, you were afraid at first.
Glasgow, yeah.
So that is very, very empowering.
I love that, taking the fear.
I want to encourage you, man, not to, yes, to be humble in all your walk, but tell your story, because it inspires so many people. You're going to be put on platforms like this, like Glasgow, and so many other people are going to be inspired by the message that you have to bring, because you're solving solutions. I mean, you're solving problems out there, making solutions in such a way that are game-changing things. And so be inspired to be able to share your story to others, man, so that other young people can be in a position where you are today. Because the same people that you felt guiding you, like you are that person that is guiding somebody else. And that's not 20 years from now.
That's like next Thursday.
Yeah, right. Next Thursday, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
You're going to be guiding somebody to somewhere, man. So continue with the inspiration, my brother.
Yeah.
Now, Luca asked, coming from online, sometimes the first barrier can be financial literacy, and we've heard about that in our platforms. How do we teach those skills to young people so they can run their own projects? And that's not just for young people. I'm gonna listen in too, because
me too. Everybody can financial literacy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, non-formal education is, is becoming a thing right now. I think that could be part of it. You don't have to college. You don't have to go to college so you'll be able to know this.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, courses, and you just have to work on yourself. For me, I'm a big fan of experience. You have to experience, go out there, put yourself out there, make mistakes for 1 time, 2 times, get out even more. But it's gonna come. If you want it, then you're gonna come. If you really want to learn something, you'll never know from how a small conversation can teach you a lot. I think it's just to be aware and to know who are you asking, what kind of questions. You have to ask the right questions so you get the right answers that you want. So
Yeah. I love that. Anything you want to add about the financial literacy part, Rodrigo?
Just real quick, I think each one of us is gonna see young people and communities that have different necessities and different issues. I just know your community and know what you can do for them to get to the point where you want them to go.
Got you.
It might be financial literacy, it might be financial access to resources, it might be other thing. Just be aware of those issues, address them first, and then take them to where they need to go.
Yeah, that's good. So Simone in the UK asks, hi Simone, on the comment about having a platform to share stories, how can they help more people to tell their stories of success to inspire others? Just like on the Cosmetic Podcast. So Magda, because you are working with youth and you are helping them find their voice and amplify their voice, like how can we help more people tell their stories?
Hello?
Yes, we got you.
Okay, so sorry. Well, I could say social media is very important tool.
Yes.
Especially Facebook. Like, almost everybody is in Facebook, and we can use that tool to share stories. And it doesn't have to be expensive. We just need to be creative to telling our stories, because what's more important is what you want to say. Sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it.
Yes.
So it's important that we utilize these social media, Facebook, Instagram. We all know this stuff, Twitter, and the podcast, like what Rodrigo was saying, and that's important. That's what we're doing also in the Y.
Well, let me throw in a soft plug here, because we were able to meet some folks from Australia, YMCA, and whynot.com. Young people, you can go in there and share your stories right there. And guess what? They will even pay you to
for
share
your content.
Story.
So go on whynot.com and you can talk to your colleagues from around the world about subjects that are important to you, not other people. Your voice can be heard and you can get paid for your content. So last question. And I would love to hear from each one of you. Luca, who is tuning in from Nigeria, and we had an amazing opportunity to talk to the Nigerian delegates here on the podcast yesterday. But Luca wants to know, where would you recommend a local YMCA youth club start looking to find funding so they can implement some of their ideas?
All right, eyes on me again. So here we go. So I don't want to give an answer to the question as go there, go. I mean, because I might be wrong, But start looking.
Right.
You're gonna find, and don't give up. There are initiatives like the global youth mobilizations. It might be your government, it might be another YMCA with a lot of resources. It might be a connection, it might be someone, a private company. It might be a crowdfunding or a crowdsourcing solution.
Wow.
You know, so there are a lot of ways where you can get resources, and there are a lot of people willing to invest those resources when you have something that you are passionate about and you can prove results and you can prove that you are thinking about this and you really, really want to do this. So that would be my input.
Nice, nice.
Just start
It's a great
somewhere.
start.
Well, as a part of the Global Youth Mobilization, I would say Global Youth Mobilization is a good place to start,
Yeah.
but it's like ending soon, so we're having the last cycle soon later in July, so if you have an idea now, apply to it. But I would like to say that sometimes starting a youth hub doesn't require any financial support. You just grab your friends, gather around, have a conversation, and start doing projects that requires nothing. Maybe just start volunteering in a kids' school, or just cleaning your street. Doesn't require much money, it just requires the spirit. And once you start and people seeing you and other organizations are seeing you that you're actually doing something, then fund will come to you.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love that. And last but not least, Magda, who gave out almost $500,000 in
I'm
funds.
just saying.
Yay.
Where can folks go to find the money?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. But Rodrigo has already said it. You keep looking for it. It could be a YMCA or it could be an organization outside the YMCA. But I'd like to bring your eyes to the words behind me. It says powered by community.
Yeah.
And that's very important because you thought that you don't have funding, you don't have money, but you actually have the resources.
Yeah.
If you guys are like a group of 5 or 10 people in that group, you have something that you don't anymore use. You can sell it and you can raise funds from it.
Yeah.
And you can use that fund to fund your initial start of the project. And like what Doris was saying, if you tell your story in social media and then people will start to notice it, then funding would flood you. And
Yes.
you never know, like, these people will already reach out to you if you're doing something that, would have an impact in the community. And we have different contextual realities. But I believe that in your government as well, there are, government institutions who are just looking for projects to fund. Of course, there are paperworks to be done, but
Yeah.
that's a possibility as well. And there are funding agencies that you can find, and of course, the YMCA is one of which. I believe there will be a series of there will be more youth-led solutions, call for youth-led solution projects. So watch out for it. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm sure that all of our listeners appreciated the good ideas and the cheat codes and the encouragement to get the stuff going on. Thank you guys out there for always coming with the amazing questions, with the great content, and really helping our guests just kind of get the whole story out. Although I don't even really know if 45 minutes is enough time to get the whole story out.
You guys
So
are
if you
dropping
knew
some knowledge that was in here that I
behind
think,
all of them.
I hope, hopefully you online were taking notes throughout this. I mean, we had some cheat codes about what's the process right there. And then the big thing is make sure you're opening your mouth to tell your story.
Yeah.
Because not only, one, you want people to hear that, but there's somebody else that's watching you. Don't think just because you're in that classification of young people, don't think that there's not someone else that is watching you in your movement right there.
Trying to be like you.
Because we always stay hopeful.
Yeah.
And if you let me add, don't be afraid of being told no.
Yes.
Yeah, don't let people that are gonna tell you no because you're gonna get told
You're gonna get
no,
a no. Yeah.
Discourage you. Like
Yeah.
if you have a story and you put it, I don't know, in an email, in a podcast, in a video, whatever it is, send it to people and actually try to get those no's, because for 100 no's that you're gonna get, you might get a yes.
Yeah.
And you might find someone like Max that just gave $4,100.
Yes,
But we want to make sure you got another, have this resource. So here's what you need to do. Everybody online right now, take out your pen and paper. I'm going to give you this one more time before we get off of here, because it's so powerful, because you got to have a place to have your voice. And then on top of that, if they can pay you for your voice, that's a whole nother thing there, right there. So check out, I'm going to spell it out, whynot.org.au. Our friends from the YMCA in Australia, they have this great resource, whynot.org.au. So check that out. Go up, blow up their website right now, and put your voice in there. And thank you guys for joining us online. Coming up 7 o'clock, Ahus time right here.
Ahus.
Ahus.
Oh,
I like that.
Ahus.
And just over an hour, it's going to be the 4th episode of the World Council Daily, our live show, rounding up everything. So again, thank you guys.
Thank you,
check that
guys.
out right there.
Yes,
okay?
thank you, Magda. Thank you, Rodrigo. And thank you, Loris.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.